Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Tuesday, September 15th, one day before the Fed meets tomorrow. And it's really kind of interesting. S&P basically returned right back to the pivot area that we've been talking about over the last couple days. And then you had some nice outperformance in some areas. So, a little bit of a give back there at the end of the day. Markets looked a little bit uneasy. I don't even know if there was any news on the tape that caused that, but I just think we're really sticky around this area. When we look at this 1 hour chart in S&P, this level that we've been kind of quoting for the last couple days, this 3395, markets are going to have to make a decision, and it's probably, I would think, going to come on Fed Day tomorrow. But we'll see. We also have quadruple witching this week too, so this week isn't exactly going to be easy, and I think there's going to be possibly some more whipsaw moves tomorrow, which we normally get. Remember, tomorrow is Fed Day, so 2 o'clock is the Fed announcement, 2:30 is the press conference. Just a little bit of a preview for that. From my experience, there's a lot of whipsaw. So, what does that mean when I say whipsaw? Well, at 2 o'clock, when they release the actual headlines, right? They're not going to raise interest rates tomorrow, so they'll say something like that. They'll say like what the consensus is for inflation. You're going to hear about inflation. You're going to hear about jobs. You're going to hear about growth tomorrow, right? So those will be the headlines that'll come across at 2 o'clock. Then at 2:30, the press conference starts. So what I mean by whipsaw is sometimes at 2 o'clock we begin to take off in one direction. By the end of the day, we don't always end in that place, right? So sometimes once Powell starts to speak, the market will stop going in that direction and actually revert and go the other direction. So I don't know which way these are going to go, but I would say gold also typically, and I don't know what tomorrow is going to be, but I would say be careful of gold tomorrow. People tend to, there tends to be outsized moves in gold on the Fed day, and then there's no follow through. So I'll give you an example of this if I can figure out really quickly. If I can't do it really quickly, then I won't do it. But if we go back to August 1st, and let's see when the last Fed meeting was, if I can find it. We're already at 8:21, so this was the minutes, so I must have went past it. And I don't know, maybe I'm missing it, but nevertheless, I was going to show you. I believe the last Fed day that we saw. All right, here's Fed minutes. Was it further back than that? Let's see. 0715. Let's go to 0715. Let's see if now it's going to drive me crazy, but oh, here we go. So it was on 729. So if we go to 729, and if we look to see what gold did that day, if I can find it. All right, so this was gold, 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 gold. 728, 729 was right in here. So a little bit all over the place, and then we kind of held back there a little bit. So the next day it was actually down. I must be thinking of another day, but personally, I don't like to chase gold on Fed days. So you could see it did go up decently that day, and then it reverted back. So that's kind of what I'm getting at for gold. If you have a position going into the meeting, that's fine. I do. I have a position in GOLD, which is Barrick Gold, but other than putting on something specifically for a Fed day trade, I don't add positions in gold and silver because they can be, like I said, quite the move back and forth. All right, so that's what to expect for tomorrow. For today, yeah, if we go back to this S&P and the daily chart, also notice that you've got a resistance level that's lining up on multiple time frames. So that's 3390, which we did close above. But we closed right around that 3.3. It looks like we closed basically right at that. It's going to be too close to call. So we'll watch tomorrow. And I did mention this morning that it might be like a pivotal day. we started to go higher again, and it's one of those days. I think September. What September is all about is being disciplined, being a little bit more disciplined than normal. So just making sure that you're not chasing price action, and buying the dips are fine. I think as long as we're not breaking down too much. And then you got to sell the rip a little bit, right? If you're adding risk at the in the beginning of the day or in the middle of the day, looking to kind of squeeze out some profits, you can kind of get caught a little bit, And that was basically what time was this? Did this fade basically start? Well, we started to see this again, by the way. At 10 o'clock seems to be an area too where there's profit taking. So here's 10 o'clock into 11 o'clock, right? And a little bit of a move down. We kind of came in and made a low of the day, of the session, rallied a bit, and then kind of came back, and then it just looked like from here, once you can't take back these big red bars, then there's usually more red bars. We did kind of halt in here, and then we rebounded a little bit. So, I think that continuing to be disciplined is kind of the right thing. And if you're trading options, rolling them. I traded Taiwan Semi was a nice trade for me today. This was something that we noted yesterday, that it was looking like it was ready to kind of pop out here. And pop out it did, and on nice volume too. I also traded some Qualcomm today too. I still have the Qualcomm on. I don't think I hit a target in that one, but this looks good on molds. So I get this question a lot in the trading room. What are you looking for in setups? Well, I'm looking for the path of least resistance and on multiple time frames. So I'll look, for instance, here we're now above value, right? So there's of course this little bit of resistance up here, but I'd like to see us get out of value, right? That is where the majority of the volume occurred in the previous period. So when we get out of there, we've got a little bit of daylight. And I like that this thing didn't give back too much in here. I did not add to it at the end of the day. But notice that we also have this, right? And then, of course, 121 is the upside area to go to. So I am long some November calls. I was on Bloomberg earlier, but they ran a little bit short. So I was literally on there for like a minute. That's fine. I can get up my idea pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm long the November 120 calls on this one. I was also going to mention, the transports, something that we've been talking about. Now, this is going to make new highs today because of FedEx, right? So FedEx reported after the close, right? They are in this ETF. Where is FedEx here? FedEx is up to 254 here, so really nice. And yeah, that's going to help the IYT. So, right, I think that some of the views that you hear on CNBC or on financial media are just a little bit short-sighted. They're all looking at tech and they're all saying, "Oh, geez, if this tech falls apart, da 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 da, it's horrible. It's so bad." Well, I don't think this is generally a negative thing, right? Tech is taking a breather, as it should, in my opinion, for a little bit because it ran up really far. Let some of these other areas, like that, to me, this is not bearish to see transports breaking out, to see materials breaking out as well, right? I mean, so we've been trying to really participate in these things. And, if you look at my weekly watch list, that I am invested in, which I talked about yesterday. Let me see if I can just find it here. Yeah, I mean, we're up to, this is up nicely for the week. It's up 2.3%. And I've got some things in here like UNP, which is up over 3%. NSC should also be in here, but I don't see it for some reason. There it is. So, I've got some transport names in here. I've got some material names on in here. And, yeah, up 2.3% for the week. Look at that. CWH actually made a reversal today. I didn't see that. Interesting. Tried to go higher and failed for the day. So that's the underperformer for the list. So that is that. As always, I always talk about. I always give you what trades I do for the day. You can see how I did. This is GSX. This is a trade that I held onto from yesterday. Got out of it. I tried my game plan, as I went over in the pre-market session, was to try to sell some things in the first hour and then maybe trade, a day trade or two. I did find some other things, right? The Netflix worked really quickly for a quick scalp. The Taiwan Semiconductor was the first thing that I went into because, again, that had just broken out. LYB, which is a chemical name, which, again, I think are showing some nice relative strength. Two targets now taken in this one, and 79 will be the last one. Also, I'm in some Deer, which I think got hit a little bit on Caterpillar today, but I added to this one. This is also a little bit of a play for me in the material space, industrial space. So I'm in that one. I actually, like I said, I added to that one. It was able to take a target in SE, and again, that's kind of the name of the game going into Fed meeting. GRI and these were names that I played about a week or two ago. I think before we started to kind of sell off a little bit, but this Darden looks pretty good. I think Brinker did not close on the high of the day. I did take a target in this, but still, I think looks pretty decent here. So again, a lot of setups that we're seeing that as long as you're not hooked to just trading those growth names or high growth names, I think there's plenty of other opportunities here with the transports and materials breaking out. I think eventually, I don't think tech is dead. I think this is just a little bit of a rotation. And again, just to kind of reiterate something that I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, we do see these rotations in September. The last, I think, 4 out of 5 Septembers, we've seen a bit of a rotation into value. So while that's going on, there's some things that I want to play, some things that I don't want to play. Do I want to own any of the banks? No, I don't want to own. I don't want to own any of the banks. They just don't. They're just too difficult. Do I want to own any of the energy companies? No, I'm staying away from this and staying. This carry, by the way, is looking like it might break down again too. So, this market isn't completely without issues, right? I don't want to see the banks. While I don't want to own the banks, I don't want to see them break down. I don't want to see certain areas that are really going to cause disruption. This XLE also looks a bit weak too, as well. If these things break down, could it bring down more of the market? It could. Investors could get spooked and start to sell, things like the SPY, right? And when they sell the SPY because they're worried about banks or worried about a market breaking down, everything's in the SPY. So yeah, so I would say this market isn't completely without risk. There are some things that continue to look very weak, but we'll have to kind of go from there and position smartly around it. For now, we'll leave it here for the day, and I didn't even talk about Tesla, but Tesla was absolutely on fire today. A lot of call action in this thing, and then it kind of came apart at the end of the day. That's the thing that makes Tesla so difficult, right? It's not easy to play calls in this. I know everybody likes to have victory laps on Twitter, but now it's a little bit easier to hold the stock at 450, but the options, the only way that I've been able to successfully play Tesla with options is spreads, call spreads and put spreads, that type of thing. I think the options are a little bit better, but they're expensive. You get caught in this, right? It could really, and put a bad day. Give you a bad day. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Again, Fed day tomorrow, so a lot to go over tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.